I'm joined by Jeremy Welter. He is the chair of the Rural Connectivity Task Force with the Agricultural Producers Association of Saskatchewan. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, I'm glad I was able to do it. Thank you very much for contacting us.
You guys formed the task force for rural connectivity in September of 2020, and why was it so important to do so?
It was important because I mean, at our base, we are a grassroots organization, and this is what we were being told by our members. You know, we were continually hearing, and I say anecdotal stories, but I mean they were actual accounts of the difficulties that a lot of our members and the people that they represent were facing with a lack of proper connectivity. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And you're saying like internet service is really essential now. Like just take COVID, for example. It's where you get all the information for it. It's how you can book your vaccines. So it's not just like a luxury service like people thought it was in the past. It's really become very prominent and very important for people to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is absolutely an essential service, and I mean, frankly, it has been and it was an essential service for, I would say at least the last 5 to 10 years. But certainly, you're right. COVID has obviously made the situation much more prominent, or the lack of the lack of proper and accessible, affordable connectivity. COVID has certainly exacerbated the situation, made it much more prominent in everyone's mind. Everyone, suddenly came to realize how far behind we actually were. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so your task force came up with 43 recommendations. Will this investment help achieve a lot of those recommendations, or is there still work to go?
Certainly this is definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, any wired connectivity, any wireline connectivity with fiber optics is always going to be a good thing. The ideal situation is that every town and ideally I live on a farm, so I'll say every farm too will have the fiber optic connectivity. But I recognize, that may not be the most economic and reasonable way to reach the current goal that the federal government has set, but also any future goals. I think it's very important to recognize that 50-10 sounds really good right now if you've got it, but in the same sense that, say, 10-1 maybe sounded good 10 years ago. As the internet continues to evolve and change, the speeds required to receive proper connectivity, high-speed connectivity, that will also change. So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I think it's very encouraging to see that SaskTel has made this announcement. I say, as always, the devil is in the details. So we're certainly going to continue watching to see I guess what their selection process is for further communities and how the money is spent, obviously. The other thing that I found really encouraging with this announcement was also the second part of the announcement, where they have said that they recognize they're not going to be, and they can't be, the be-all and end-all for connectivity in Saskatchewan. So they're looking for possible partnership avenues with other companies that are also interested in installing fiber optic cables. Again, like I said before, the devil is in the details, but it is really encouraging to see that this is something they're looking at. When Saskatchewan was connected to the phone service, at that point, SaskTel didn't really exist. It was all done locally through local, telephone connection companies, and those companies all got together and formed SaskTel. So, if we look at the way Saskatchewan was wired up, the way Saskatchewan was connected through the telephone service, I think it's a good example to show what works for internet connectivity.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning, taking the time to sit down with me. I very much appreciate it.